Welcome to the Estimate Mastery Podcast, where we talk everything Xactimate, contracting, and today we're going to do a little bit of mitigation stuff here with Nick Sharp from Reets Drying Academy. Super excited to have on Nick as our guest speaker. Go ahead and say hello to the folks there, Nick.
Hello, folks, and hello, Alena. What an honor and a privilege it is just to talk to you today.
I'm really excited. We have some really cool things on the docket today. So I kind of wanted to start out because we have a funny backstory of kind of how we met each other. I think I had seen Nick online and knew about Reets Drying Academy, but we had an Xactware conference here in Salt Lake City. I think it was maybe 2017, 2018. And so I was there with the actual Insights crowd. That's Mark Watley and Seth Harrison. They had held what's called a sketch off. And I kind of elbowed myself in the room, was hiding in a corner going, okay, what are they going to do with this sketch off here? Because they were giving this big interior sketch and this roofing sketch. And Mark Watley comes up to me and goes, Alena, Nick isn't here. I'm like, oh, okay, Nick Sharp isn't here? Okay. He's like, yeah, he's stuck on a plane somewhere. You need to be in the sketch off. So they threw me into this competition. I just happened to have my laptop with me and I'm there. No, I think we used their laptops if I could remember right. No, I think we had our own. Doesn't matter. Anyways, so we had to sketch the interior of this huge hotel and the hotel roof. And it was like, Nick, I'm going to kill you. Do you remember what happened that day?
No, I don't remember. I blacked that day out of my memory completely. And yeah, so this was definitely 2018. It was pre-pandemic. And so I had spoken to Seth because he spoke at one of our events that just the year before that. He was like, hey, I'll speak at yours if you come and do sketch off with us. I was like, I'm down for that. Because at our event, we also do a sketch competition. And I'm always the host of it. I don't ever get to participate. And so I was looking forward to participating and showing off, beating Ben Justison, and whoever else was on there. I think Parker was on there, a few other people. And I booked my flight. I was going to head over there. And then the plane got delayed. And I was like, I feel like I can still make it. So hopped in an Uber on my way there. I got there like 10 minutes before the competition started. Ran inside and they're like, yeah, we needed you here like an hour ago for all these complicated instructions. I was like, oh, so I had to sit there and watch Alena do a very good job on last minute notice. But yeah, I also was angry because I feel like I would have beat those other guys.
I think you would have. I was thrown for a loop. Like there was a curved ceiling or some kind. It was crazy. It was like we had to sketch the ballroom. Anyway, so that's kind of how we got to meet and get to know each other a little bit. Nick is also a fellow Xactware certified trainer, or Verisk I don't know what they're calling us, Xactimate certified trainer. So it's great. I get to see him at those events. And we recently were in a pricing course together. So that's how we kind of reconnected. And it was really eye-opening seeing how they put the price lists together. And we in the industry, when we complain about pricing, we shouldn't just be like, oh, stucco pricing sucks. Windows, man, they just don't know what they're doing. No, when you complain and see a disparity in the market, there's actually, if you're informed and aware, you can actually go to Xactware or Verisk and say, here is where the actual problem is. It's in the labor burden. It's in the actual material pricing, So I don't know, Nick, if you have any takeaways from that course, but that's really what I learned. And it was really great to hear.
Yeah, it was a good course. And first of all, I love that they even have this course because a lot of people have been driving this particular wagon for a few years now. So to see Verisk / Xactware make a change and develop this pricing course was cool. In that it wasn't, I expected it just to be certified trainers there. I feel like there was only maybe 2 of us, maybe 3 out of 20 people or so, maybe a little bit less than that, because they want the contractors to be in on that class so that they can learn about pricing and learn how they can adjust and what they can adjust. So I thought that was really good. And there were a lot of good tips as far as to how Xactimate comes up with their pricing and how we have a huge effect on that.
Yeah, I want to echo that. It wasn't, most Xactware courses I've been to in the past are either a bunch of certified trainers, which is great, or it's people from the insurance companies, right? It's adjusters or supervisors or what, from that side. The pricing course was all contractors. And then, like you said, just a couple certified trainers, which is really refreshing to see from my point of view in the industry and probably yours, because we see that they don't seem to want, cater to that, our side. It seems like they feel like they're always on the insurance side. So it's refreshing to see them try to create something that could inform contractors and help us actually make a difference in the industry on our side, as far as the pricing and being aware. And when there is a disparity, who to talk to. And since we've been through this course, Nick, I don't know if I'm pretty sure this probably happened to you too. I was reached out to by Verisk. I have an actual pricing person I can talk to. I've been assigned within their department, their pricing department, that I can go to when I find or hear about issues, and I can speak directly to them. So that was one of the other benefits of going through the course, is now I can bend their ear when I do see an issue, or it looks like something might be wrong in a price list in Atlanta, Georgia, or wherever. I can have someone I can bend their ear. Did they do that with you too?
Oh yeah, and I've already reached out to them on a few items that I would love to see added for mitigation, and also for fire. There's a few things that I feel like could be tweaked, not necessarily in anybody's favor, but we do teach mainly contractors, so. So there are definitely some things, and if we can move them towards that, I think that open dialogue is super important. Moving them down the line to see where we're coming from. And also, I think we're also in a kind of an interesting state, because we're a school, we're, Reets Drying Academy. And so they are interviewing contractors and doing surveys on contractors. But in my discussions with them, it was also like, yeah, I understand you're interviewing contractors, but maybe some of the ones you're doing are surveying, maybe aren't necessarily doing it correctly. So why don't you talk to us as an academy? What should we be doing? Because that's what the pricing should reflect. That way, those that are actually doing the right job aren't suffering because someone that is being surveyed that is not doing the right job is affecting that. So we are having introductory conversations about things like that, and it's great, and I'm hoping it moves it forward.
Wow, that's really an eye-opening thought. That, yeah, I know that they survey people, and they're trying to be very democratic about it, if that's the right word. In other words, they imparted to us in the class that if the contractor's mad at them, but on the other side, if the insurance company's like, you're paying too much, that's too high price, that they feel like they're at the right point. Like they feel like the stepchild in the room. They're like, yeah, we've got the pricing going well, because both sides aren't cheering them on. Kind of a funny way of looking at it, but the fact that who they're surveying may not be doing the job correctly, or adding all the line items, or seeing all the line items that are needed, right? That's what I deal with the roofing contractors and the restoration people, is they're leaving off waste on steep and high charges. They're not charging for the correct baseboard. They're putting a 4-inch, the adjuster puts a 4-inch, they don't catch to put the 6-inch. All those little things that you think you've got the best estimate going, and you're actually, they may be doing the work well. In your case, the work may not be done right with the mitigation. That's one of the things. They don't do the dry out correctly. But these guys on my side they're not even paying attention to the details. So when people go through our course and we pick up on these things, and we start to open their eyes onto all the things that they're missing, that will also help inform Xactware, like, hey, once you do get everything into the estimate, what's the actual pricing? And then you can even make a better decision to tell Xactware where the disparity is. So that's really interesting that you say that, because they need to be talking to contractors that know what they're doing in the first place to even get the right information. Most of these people that we encounter out in the field, and they don't know what they don't know. I'm not knocking on contractors at all, because gosh dang, we've got plenty of stuff to do in our businesses, and Xactimate's just one of them. Yeah. So one of the examples that I was thinking about, like, so for a very long time in the S500, which is the ANSI standard for water restoration, that's our standard. That's what we go by on our jobs. For a long time, category 1, category 2 were grouped together, and then category 3 was separated, right? And that's how Xactware does a lot of their pricing. The only thing that has a category 2 price is extraction line items. But other than that, it's category 1, category 2 pricing. And then you add your little S and you get cat 3. But in our S500 in 2015, and especially for 2021,
they've separated that. Now it's category 1 by itself, and category 2, category 3 are closely linked, almost treating them the same, just a few minor differences. And so when talking to them, they say, well, the people we're interviewing are saying that the labor burden is pretty much the same for Cat 1 and Cat 2. It shouldn't be. If we're going by the newest standard, it shouldn't be. And so talk to someone that's really doing it correctly, that knows the S500 2021 standard, and they'll tell you our labor burden is much different from category 1 to category 2. It's significantly different. So why isn't our pricing adjusted like that? And it would be a relatively simple change, but also it would have huge repercussions throughout the industry. If everyone started charging category 3 pricing for what's category 2 instead of vice versa, you would see a huge change. I feel like it should happen, but we have to go through our proper channels. So that's just one example of something that we've noticed when digging into the pricing. And there are a number of other examples like that.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah. So the more you can be informed, the more you can educate yourself. I'm part of a pretty cool high level entrepreneurial mastermind group. And one thing that has been a big takeaway for me from that is knowledge is outside yourself, right? Yeah, you can sit here and do the same thing and spin the same wheel every single day, or you can go out and get educated by people like Nick. You can come to our classes, and the wisdom comes from outside yourself. You're going to have the same thoughts every day, and that's fine. If you want to plateau in your business, that's great. Or you can do something different and learn something new, like what we're talking about. So that pricing course is really cool. All you have to do is email pricing@verisk.com, and they can get you into that course. It was free, which was amazing, because they want you to be educated so that they get better feedback on their pricing, because otherwise it's like talking to a brick wall sometimes with some of these contractors, and they go survey them. And then of course the adjusters don't submit, new pricing to them. That's not quite their job. So they're in this hard spot to get new information. It's hard for them to go. Of course, they survey the material houses and all of that, but like the issue Nick brought, there's a lot of these disparities in the price list, and not because they're trying to do something untoward. They're trying to be on the up and up. But if we don't inform them, then we can't move the needle. We can't make the difference. And if you don't know how to inform them, then it's like, it's just the industry just goes in this weird cycle. So we've got to make a change. You got to get educated, and it's a wonderful thing. And then you're more profitable too. It's not like it's a burden on you. You're making a change in the industry, and a rising tide raises all boats. And it's a really cool thing. So pricing@verisk.com, just email them and say, hey, I heard about your pricing course. How can I get in on that? And they'll reach out to you and they'll enroll you. Is about, what was it, 4 hours a day for 2 days?
Yeah,
it
wasn't long. And the cool thing is they're asking for the information.
Yes.
They're saying, we want your help. It's not that, oh, we're owned by the insurance company, we want prices to be the same, we don't care, we only are going towards the insurance side. They're asking. So how do we respond? Do we respond by saying, man, it's too hard, I'm just going to leave the pricing as is, or I'm just going to keep complaining, or are we actually going to do something about it? Now, this is where the rubber meets the road.
That's exactly right. I love that. Yeah. So we're here to make a difference, and we're excited to help you guys learn how we can make a difference in the industry too. So that's why it's so much fun to have people like Nick on the podcast. Nick, something else I want to talk about. I was imparting to Nick before we got started with this interview how we are really teaching roofing contractors, exterior contractors, and restoration people. Nick is on the mitigation side, which we do have mitigation people in our world too. So we really appreciate knowing people like Nick to have a resource to send our people to. But we were discussing, there's a lot of snow on roofs, right? In the northern part of the US, or the roofing kind of slows down. Restoration may slow down in the wintertime. And that's what I encounter with a lot of my people that I work with, is that it's kind of a downtime. It's kind of like summer's over. Now we have to, go just sit in the office and work on estimates. It's like, no, actually, if you are organized enough in your business and can know enough about Xactimate, because you're already using it for roofing, exterior, maybe restoration, you can start to do some fun things, like maybe pick up some mitigation work in the winters. There's lots of freezes, ice dams happen. You could be doing some of that interior work, right? So could you kind of speak to that, Nick, and what you feel on that subject?
Oh, absolutely. So part of the cool thing about being at this Reets Drying Academy, this school, is you see trends. So when we go back to what started this industry, it was cleaners, carpet cleaners. They were on site. Somebody said we have water down, and it's like, well, who can get this water up? I got a truck, and so I can suck it up, and I'll put some fans down, and it slowly progressed. And then we started doing reviews and working with plumbers, and well, then the plumbers kind of realized these mitigation contractors are making a bunch of money, and they're paying us $700, $800, $900 in some areas per job. I should get in on there. So now we're seeing this line of plumbers come through class, and they're learning and they're trying to get into it. Well, just in the last couple of years, and we really saw it, especially from contractors in Texas, roofers in Texas, during the freeze, they realized we have these roofs, but also there's this water damage. How do we do this? How do we align it? And it's an excellent business opportunity. So they started coming through WRT, and then naturally they went through our estimating course as a second course. And they're able to make money because it's a great opportunity. Because a lot of people would say, well, there's water damage here. I should call a water restoration company. Most water restoration companies don't want to come out to do a little spot on the ceiling. It's not worth it for them. So what can you do? You can actually know what to do in that situation, take a class, figure out what that's going to cost. And now you're upping your ticket by a couple grand. Say you're upping your ticket by $2,000 just by knowing that service. It's not a bunch of labor. You're already there. There's no additional marketing. Your guys are already on site. So you might have some equipment cost, but that is a lot of profit to be made each time you go out there. $2,000 over the course of a year. Let's say you do 100 jobs, 200 extra jobs. Now you're talking about, a good piece of money that's extremely profitable. So step number one, you already have the opportunity. Step number two, how do we capitalize? Come to class, figure out what you need to do, learn the basics, and possibly even some of the advanced stuff for drying. Then go out, buy your equipment, and start capitalizing.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So, there's it's a great opportunity. Like you say, if you're already on site, it's like, why not just, have that extra knowledge in order to fill that gap, right? It's a gap that's easily overcome. And then back to what I was thinking of is those that complain, I have no work in the winter. So they go out and they do snow removal and stuff like that. Well, actually, if you could pivot a little bit and go after those freeze jobs, like here in Utah, we have pipes that we get in these sub-zero temperatures where we have the freeze thaw happen and basements flood and stuff like that. That would be, of course, you're not out there doing the roof because there's snow on the roof, but there are new opportunities there where if you can educate yourself, it's a new money-making opportunity instead of just sitting in the office and doing nothing. So that's kind of a two-parter. It's interesting that the freeze in Texas really brought a lot of new people to the table because they would be out there looking at all this stuff going on. They're going, oh yeah, there's a lot of work I could do here. Wait, I could go fill this gap by going and talking to Nick and his crew. So yeah, that's a really interesting thought. So it's kind of a two-parter there. Some of you might already be out there doing the work, doing at the property, like Nick said, or maybe it's a new income opportunity that it's something you do over the winter that you can pick up on. So yeah, I think it's a great thought that you brought to the table, because that like in Minnesota, they're up there, they're really doing nothing from about November to April. So
watching the Timberwolves.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a great opportunity, and that's why I wanted to bring that to the table with Nick here, because he's the man. If you want to learn anything about mitigation, drying, and all of that, it's such a science. So there is a bit of a knowledge gap that you'll have to fill that, because you got to know what you're doing. You can, if you don't know the science behind it and how to properly dry something out, that you're going to lose money because you're not applying the correct prescription to the problem, right? So when people come through your class, Nick, that have been in the mitigation industry for a while, what are some of those epiphanies that you see often that they're like, oh my gosh, I forgot, I've never been doing that, or what do you see when that happens?
Oh yeah, there's a number of things. So for a WRT ASD, when we're talking about an IICRC certification, they really miss the health and safety aspect of it. And so our instructor, David Hodge, does a great job of bringing out these OSHA laws that companies really aren't even thinking about. As far as PPE, as far as putting together JHAs, as far as doing hazard analysis. And when you do that, it does affect your labor, but it affects your estimate. You can bill for those things. So just doing our WRT ASD course, you learn very valuable things. And the way that we have it broken down is we do a mix of video and hands-on, and then some lecture. So a lot of it is watch these videos, take a test, take a Kahoot. It's very interactive, but we want more time in the flood house. We want more time in the lab where you can actually see what's occurring. How is this drying? What are the differences between materials and drying? We go deep into the science of it. But secondly, after that class, we then have our estimating and negotiating course, which is a 4-day course. It's 2 days of Xactimate, 2 days of estimating process. And you put in pieces, once again, that we're probably already doing, but we just don't know to properly bill for it. Or we are doing a pre-inspection meeting, but maybe we don't know how it should be affecting our estimate. So real brief example for that. Are we asking about health and safety on our pre-inspection meetings? It's something that the S500 tells us we should do, so it's standard of care, and how that then affects your job. So Alena, if I were in your house, you had a water damage, and I asked you a question like, Alena, do you have any health concerns or respiratory concerns or allergies that I need to know about before starting our job? What would you say?
Yes, I have a touch of asthma.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry to hear that. But what we can do, if it's all right with you, we can install an air cleaning device or an air filtration device, and that will cut down on some of the particulate that will be raised up in the air when we kick on our air movers. Do you think that would be something you'd like?
Yes, that would make me feel much better about my health and safety.
Okay, great. And so, simple question, right? But what it does is it now allows the customer to have an input on the conversation. They're the decision maker. Category 1, 2, or 3. Does your asthma go away? No, doesn't matter the category. And so now we will place an air filtration device or multiple, depending on the job, on site. So just real quick math, if that is $75 a day over the course of 4 days, it's raising your average dollar sale by $300 over the course of 500 jobs, $150,000. All right, just a simple question, right? Were we supposed to do that? Yeah, we're supposed to do it. Are we doing it? Yeah, a lot of people aren't. And so learning little things like that, it's not something crazy or mind-blowing, but it's something that's in the standard. It's something that we should be doing. It's something for the homeowner that we should be doing instead of just going in, kicking on an air mover and choking our homeowner out. Everybody wins. And then we teach you how to get paid for that very easily. So small tips like that, $150,000 at the end of the year, what can you do with that? Right, that's one line item, one question. So there are a number of things like that we discuss.
Yeah, that's awesome information. And it's so true that I think people leave the policyholder or homeowner out of the conversation so much. We're sticking our nose as a third party, right? Because the policyholder and the insurance company have a contract. We as a contractor have a contract with the homeowner policyholder, but we circumvent that and go over here and try to talk to the insurance company, right? And so the more you can get the policyholder saying, I'm making the decisions, I hold the policy, I own the claim, that you rope them in and say, I made this decision for my health and safety. Nick let me know that I is doing his due diligence of what's required and necessary to make the health and safety of my home and my family, up to par. That's completely legitimate and reasonable, and it should be happening. So, and people leave so much money on the table just by not knowing what you don't know, going back to the beginning, like what we were talking about before. So that's where it's so important to educate yourself. And that's why I'm excited to do what I do. And I know Nick loves what he does to help inform people every day. And there's so much out there that people are leaving behind, money on the table, that it really gives me a heart for what I do, because it's, the roofing contractors especially have been doing a lot of research as far as like how much profitability they're taking home. Like a $3 million roofing business, at the end of the day, after all the expenses, cost of goods sold, all the stuff is paid out, they're taking home like 60K, 80K. I'm going, you're a $3 million business. What's going on here? There's some disparity, and it's usually in the estimating process, right?
Yeah.
You're not paying, even if you do retail work, if you go into a home and the homeowner's like, well, since you're here, can you do this? It's like, no. My time is worth, right? The homeowner would charge, their time's worth something. Why don't they see that the contractor's time is worth something? And that's why I love Xactimate, because we have defined rules, especially in the insurance space, because so much happens when you're doing restoration, or if you're in a catastrophe, hail, wind, hurricane. It's a different animal than retail. So it's so great to have Xactimate, because we have rules we can play by, right? Like you were talking about the category 1, 2, 3 water situation. It's like, well, now we need to maybe move the rules or better define things. Like for instance, I love that they added in the final clean, the CLN final R and final C, that Xactimate took the step to define, hey, this is not in the supporting events. This is the final cleaning at the end of the job, right? Just little things like that help us stop the gray area. I really like to live in a land of rules, and that's why I love Xactimate, because I can clearly define, hey, when I remove and replace a roof, there is no final cleaning of the outside of the property. There's no tarping of the pool or taking off the hose bib and moving the contents away, your grill and everything. It says remove shingles, replace shingles. So I need to charge for all these little things along the way that you guys are seeing as cost of doing business. It's not. We're playing by rules here. So the extra labor and material and things that you're doing as a given, oh, that's just a cost of you doing business. You're not my accountant, Mr. Adjuster. You're not allowed to make those decisions. Yeah. I'm the restoration professional, and I know what I'm doing, and these items are required and necessary for me to complete this job. Or I could not tarp and not clean, and you can go ahead and pay for the liability of someone stepping on a nail and all of that lovely landscaping that we're going to destroy because you didn't allow us to tarp. So you've got to know not only what the line items are, but how to frame the conversation. And that just comes over time, right? It's just building on the knowledge and learning the next new thing. Like, I'm not new to this game. I've been doing this for 7 years. If you would have asked me 7 years ago, Alena, hey, what should I do to put this roof on? I'd be like, yeah, sure. Tarping, all that, it's included, blah, blah, blah. Because I didn't know what I didn't know. And this is really embarrassing, but I don't mind telling the story. I come from training adjusters. So back then I was working for a third-party adjusting firm. I would tell the adjusters, because I was parroting what the insurance company told me to say, and I didn't know any better because I came from a real estate background. I didn't know nothing about restoration. I just started trading this wonderful software. They told me, 3 trades or more is how an O&P is paid, and ridge and starter is included in the waste for the roof. Yep. And I just said it. I said it probably 50 times. Yeah. And, I didn't know because I didn't have that industry experience. And so you just have to keep on learning the next new thing. Oh yeah, I need to change that. I need to add this. Here's why waste is not included. There's a calculator. We can mathematically prove this, just all the things. And that's why it's so exciting to be in the industry, because there's always something new to learn, right?
Yeah. And what's funny about that exact thing you just mentioned, now I'll embarrass myself, is, is that trap goes much further than people think. So I was on the contractor side doing estimating, but it was purely for TPAs. So we were a TPA I was a TPA estimator. When we left the TPAs, my mindset was still, you can't do that. You can't charge for that. They will not pay for that. And you've now trained the contractor to think that way. That's deep. And so even as we train other estimators, for example, going back to pricing, you can adjust your pricing. Xactimate wants you to adjust your pricing. Xactimate is in their license agreement that you should adjust your pricing. It's in their pricing white paper methodology. You should adjust your pricing. And yet when you talk to someone, they're going to pay for that. We can't do that. We got to get out of that mindset. That's not pro contractor. It's not pro insurance. That's just economy. You need to be pricing your jobs based on your company. So yeah, that mindset, it's not just on that side. It's not just with instructors. It's also with the contractor. It's crazy.
And it's because they've been beat down for so many years too, and or they come from working for someone who wasn't doing it correctly and go, you know what, I can do it better, faster, stronger myself, start a company, but they bring over all those characteristics. That was why that other company wasn't great. And so it's really interesting.
I still got the bruises from some of those beatings from from those guidelines.
Exactly. And so and when we say TPAs, that's a third party. How do you define that, Nick? Is it
third party administrator? So
yeah. So people like Lionsbridge or Code Blue or
Contractors Connection. Alacrity.
Yeah. So you can't, and we could probably sit here for an hour talking about this stuff, but that's another thing that I hate is I wish contractors would say no to more TPAs, because, it's just a bridge from the insurance company controlling your job. It's, yes, you get a lot of volume, but you're doing the job for half or a quarter of what you could if it was a job that you procured yourself and ran, with your own rules, like we're talking about. It's insane, but we could talk all day on this stuff, but yeah, I appreciate you being here, Nick. This has been a really cool conversation. We really like to just have like a, just a laid back convo over here at Estimate Mastery. So I appreciate you letting me pick your brain a little bit and informing our people. Yeah. So if a contractor wants to reach out and get a hold of you or Reets Academy and look at what you guys have to offer, where should they go? What's your channels?
Yeah, so you can go on reetsdryingacademy.com. And there you can book classes. You can look at Reets TV. So we have 200 videos of water restoration and estimating videos, self-paced training. That's really good for learning about our industry. We also have our blog, which is free information. We're putting out blogs monthly that have to do with real situations, whether it be estimating, whether it be running your business. We have interviews with contractors, so we would love that. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. If anybody knows Meredith Truitt, you can follow us on TikTok. She's always doing something crazy there, especially on Whiskey Wednesdays. I don't partake. But yeah, so follow us there. Yeah, we'd love to connect.
Very cool. Yeah. Thanks so much for being here. And of course, if you have any questions, can they email in? What's a good way to reach out? Do you have an email address?
Yeah, sure. You can reach out at Reets, REETS at Reets.tv. That's a good way to reach out. You can hit us up on the chat box on our website as well. So those are a couple good ways to reach out. And also, before we go on, I wanted to say that Alena is a genius, so please continue to listen to her. She's amazing. And so if you're listening to the podcast, you already know. But if you're new to the podcast, understand that Alena's awesome.
Thanks, Nick. I think you're great too. And I just love what you guys do over there. So yeah. And if you have any questions for us, you can reach us at info@estimatemastery.com. And of course, we're also on the Facebook, the Instagrams and the TikToks and YouTube too. We have a lot of free information over there about Xactimate and estimating as well. So we appreciate you guys being listeners here. And of course, subscribe if you want to hear more. And we'll see you in the next episode. All right. Take care.